Hey, it's Oscar from the Frontrunner Colombo,
It's Sam from Frontrunner Colombo.
and you are listening to a special episode of Run Spesh. We're going to do a little bit more highlighting, if you like, spotlighting of events that our crew do around Christchurch and around the country. And with me is Sam. Now, if you haven't been in the shop and you wanted to compare us to car parts, I'd be the spark plug and Sam would be the fan belt.
Squeaky.
Squeaky. Well, no, he's pretty good. He gets the whole ship moving and as our trail guy. And well, I say that as if that's the only thing you are, but you're more than that. You do a whole lot more than that. But your focus, I guess, in the last little while has been some trail stuff.
Yeah, I like running on the trails.
Yeah, he's one of the. Which side is the dark side?
Road.
Yeah. Without hesitation.
Yeah.
There was like a one-step dunk from the free throw line. There was no hesitation.
Track somewhere else, probably.
I think track is another sport entirely. I don't even think it's not even in distance running. At least what we do is classified as distance running. And so Sam did Tarawera a couple of weeks ago. So we thought we'd do a little recap on that. Maybe some of the gear that you use, the lead into it, some of the challenges you faced on event day. And you came back from some injuries and stuff as well, sort of in the latter half of last year. So
yes,
it wasn't.
I guess, what was that? 2024 was a bit of a disaster. So.
Oh, should we start there? Maybe
Yeah.
move your mic ever so slightly closer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so should we go to what, July?
Maybe go April. So I snuck in a road marathon.
Oh, you ran sub 3.
Yeah. So Christchurch Marathon 2024.
Yeah, you.
There was a brief window there where I wasn't injured or sick or.
Are we blaming the road?
No. Pretty happy with that. Like, that was the first road one in 5 years, I think. So I would have been upset if I didn't get a PB, seeing as there's tens of thousands of Ks gone in since then.
Yeah, fair. That's a fair point.
But no, I was pretty happy with how that went. And then, probably unwisely, I went back into the mountains 6 days later and tore my quad. So that was 3 months laid up after that. And I think I was just coming back from that and doing a lot of flat running when I thought it would be a good idea to sign up for Tarawera.
Gotcha. So you got yourself through to July, August. You had some scans and stuff.
Yeah.
We had a whole bunch of other stuff going on, but I guess you had a little, niggle there. You're trying to piece together some training, trying to work full time. Sorry, mate. And so I guess when you made that decision to have a go at Tarawera, you were pretty pumped about it. You were like going to give it a go.
Yeah, so it was going to be a new challenge. I probably wasn't trusting my legs on the steep downhill stuff at the time, which is normally my strong point.
Mm-hmm.
So it gave me like 7 months to hopefully train like a decent training block where I could set some big goals and do a unknown distance and course as well, because I think definitely last 5 years doing a lot of the same trail events over and over, it's hard not to compare your times or efforts to the previous years each time. So it was going to be nice to do something completely different.
And I reckon too, like with the trail stuff, and correct me if you think differently, but with, conditions, I think the trail is a lot more vulnerable. If you get a dry day one year, and you're able to basically wear road shoes and go hell for leather. And if you get a horrendous wet year, you could be the same distance but twice as slow.
Yep. So there's weather, heat can make a massive difference, especially some of the Central Otago ones get really hot and there's no cover and there's no water. So they're interesting challenges. We've had a lot of contingency courses the last few years as well. So whether that's snow or rain or wind, we haven't been able to do a lot of the full events quite often.
And I feel like through that back end of that COVID period, coming out of that, some of the trail events were kind of hit the hardest. Yep. Maybe because a lot of them were sort of new-ish or relied heavily on sort of mass volunteer signing up. There's a lot of new stuff coming. Maybe competitors were split, meaning that it was difficult to get sort of good numbers as well.
Yeah. So we'll see a lot fewer numbers in the trail events, and then they, I guess, are necessarily more expensive to cover everything that goes into them and all the contingencies and potentially like helicopters to get stuff into some of these really out of their places,
Mm.
and then add in altitude and weather, and sometimes we can't do the full course safely.
You are really relying on people having a certain skill set to be able to look after themselves.
That, and even with that skill set,
Yeah.
ACC probably won't let you go up there, or health and safety stuff.
So there's a lot of stuff that happens in the background. We kind of found that out with a few of our friends, didn't we, that were putting on events, and we have seen some good events. I mean, Oxford was one.
Yeah.
Sort of disappear as of last year, but then we've had things come up like Race Tekapo and other bits to try and. So I mean, I guess products essentially what they are have life cycles, but it does make it a little bit more difficult for you guys to sort of plan out a year in a way. So you decide to run Tarawera. I'm going to ask this question in two questions and one question. What was the hope the training would be, and what are the training sort of in, I guess let's talk pre-New Year, so that back end of 24, sort of what was happening?
Oh, even back before. So we signed up, must have been end of July, start of August. I had several months. I probably intended to get on a plan and do a massive solid block and probably have some good lead-up events that were similar to Tarawera. So maybe think some kind of flatter, faster trail stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's Tekapo, Craterum, something like St. James, which didn't happen this year either. And I think within a few weeks I was in hospital. So
yeah,
that was a bit of a setback, and more recovery involved after that. And I think I probably pushed the recovery every time I came back from an injury last year and ended up hurting myself again.
I mean, you've been pretty open with sort of stuff that's happened in your life, around some of the surgeries and stuff. For those, if you don't mind sharing, for those people who don't sort of know your background, maybe just shed a little bit of light on that, so they, it's a pretty cool story.
Yeah, so I guess 2016, way back, I had a bunch of cardiac arrests. I ended up for defibrillator since then, and I had that removed this August, end of September actually. It was UTMB weekend, so I was laid up in Auckland Hospital, but I got to watch the whole UTMB coverage.
You're the only one.
That was pretty cool. So I guess I think Tekapo was 3 weeks after that, and I tried, but I couldn't run there.
No.
That was going to be a bad idea.
I seem to remember you thinking that you might try.
Yeah, and I think I went out a week later, and it definitely wasn't happening.
No. Which is disappointing when you can't, the things, the goalposts keep moving, right? You keep having one thing after the next, and the quad thing didn't really go away either, did it?
No,
so hung around.
That's still been there. I think we've got another MRI next month. And then I did some shin, I think, thing running too much on Summit Road.
On the
trying to come back too fast. Yeah. So I didn't properly start running till we went down to the wild weekend in the middle of December, which was cutting it pretty fine for Tarawera. But I had a good Christmas break. Like, we got a couple of weeks off work here, so a lot of volume in those 2 weeks. Maybe too much looking back.
Said everyone ever.
Yeah. And a good 4 week taper, I thought, but I just turned up on the start line still feeling like I had dead legs. And then stomach didn't settle super well, and ended up trying to run most of Tarawera on ginger beer.
Yeah, so we'll backtrack.
Yeah.
We'll backtrack slightly before we end up
Jumping
at the funeral. So I guess for those people that aren't familiar with Tarawera, maybe explain what that event is, when it happens, where it happens, the distances involved, and sort of the history of what makes that such an appealing event.
So UTMB now help run Tarawera, which is like an international race series. It makes it the most competitive race in, at least New Zealand, probably Australasia, and it offers like 100-mile, 100K, 50K, 20K distances. And like some of those super fast elites, they can get automatic entry to the UTMB finals. Plus you'll have lots of the sponsored athletes and teams coming out, as well as just thousands of trail runners. So doing it as their first event or their big event on pretty smooth kind of trails. Like it's not technical like South Island, steep and gnarly. It's a little bit rooty sometimes, but a lot of forestry road in there too. And it's up in Rotorua. It's interesting culture, especially coming from Christchurch.
Yeah,
it's a bit different for
little
us.
shock. Yep.
Yeah. But just a massive event, and so like the start line was pretty incredible. I mean, the few days leading up there were maybe a bit overwhelming because there was just so much going on, so much to try and see and do, and catching up with everyone who kind of migrates there as the trail running event for the weekend.
Because you guys are, I say you guys as in the trail community, are a little bit like a cult.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess you're all following what everyone's doing. And I've found that even though the trail running is incredibly competitive, you probably have a little more camaraderie than the pure road athletes. Does that similar?
I think so. Thoughts? It's a lot more laid back until the gun goes, probably.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, it's fine, and it's good to catch up and hear with everyone, hear about how everyone's day went. I mean, some people stick it, some people don't. Everyone else has their challenges to get there to start with, especially taking on some of the big distances. They are just massive challenges just to get to the start line sometimes.
And I guess for 100 miles, really the training is, can I stand up for a while? But you don't want to train standing up so much that you make yourself too tired, and you can't recover from that. So a lot of it comes down to sort of that mental preparation and probably a decent helping of hope. Would that be true?
Yeah,
so
because I think there's a point you get to where you can't train anymore. It doesn't matter the distance you're training for. You can't run twice as much just because you're going to run 100 miles.
Unless you're Dan Jones.
Yep, you only got so much time in the day and effort and energy and life. So challenges for everyone just to get there fit in one piece and feeling like we could give it a good nudge.
So you chose to run 100 miles.
Yep.
Was that this little personal goal? Have you? This is going to sound silly, but have you run 100 miles before?
Nah.
No, I didn't think you had.
No.
I thought I should know that as a friend, but so you thought I'm going to try and do this.
Yeah, so there was a few, I guess, wee goals in there to tick off. So it was going to be almost twice as long distance-wise as my longest event. And then hopefully it was only going to be a little bit longer time-wise, but it turned out to be a lot longer.
So you're standing on the start line.
Yep.
And you what's the mentality? You know, you're a little underdone, and you're pretty hard on yourself. You know, having sort of worked together and been together for 5 years, you're pretty, maybe even longer. You're pretty hard on yourself. You want to do really well, and which is cool. So you're standing on the start line. You're feeling like you're a little underdone mentally. I've been on start lines where I felt like I'm a little underdone, and that's a difficult thing. But I haven't had 24 hours in front of me. I've had maybe a 2.25. So what's the thought there as you're standing on the start line? How are you preparing yourself to get going?
Just trying to soak it all in. So it was really good. It started at Tarawera Hot Springs. So it was a really good atmosphere at the start line. Lots of people. It's 4 a.m, so it's dark, but they got the flashing lights and the coloured lights and Fat Boy Slims blasting. So it was pretty good.
So you're feeling all the part of mid-30s that you are by then.
Yeah. So that was pretty good. So just trying to soak that in, try and get some energy from that. Also felt pretty hungry at the start line, which wasn't a good sign. So I was getting into one of my bars before the start, and just trying not to be too nervous. But I'd been pretty nervous for a few days in the lead up.
So you're preparing your nutrition plan,
Yep.
and we'll start with this because this seems to be the thing that I guess maybe didn't go quite to plan. You're planning your nutrition. How are you looking at that in blocks of an hour, in blocks of 2 hours, aid station to aid station, calories per?
Yeah, it's hard. You can kind of work it out, carbs per hour or aid station to aid station. I figured most of the aid stations were between 9 and 15 kilometres. I kind of worked out that I would need 2 bottles for each section. Like one might be cutting it fine, especially if it was a really hot day.
Yep.
And I'd found Rotorua pretty hot the couple of days before. So I was going 2 500 mils Morton in the front 2 pockets. And then I had a third bottle because I thought for some sections I might need a third, especially if I ended up walking, which we did. And that just had a powder, precision sodium powder, basically, electrolyte powder, just to top up at one of the aid stations when I needed it for a slightly faster transition. A mixture of gels. I probably carried a lot heavier pack than I needed to, and that was just carrying a few different gel options depending what I felt like and what felt like it was sitting. So I think in the end I figured the precisions weren't sitting too well, so I didn't touch them the rest of the day.
So does that mean was that Morton's, was it?
So I was doing the Morton drink mitts. The Morton gels went okay, and then some of the pure gels as well.
Oh yeah, the warm sugar, the warm juice.
Oh, and then ginger beer.
Ginger beer.
Yeah, discovered ginger beer about 5 hours in.
But someone told me it wasn't that flat, so
It didn't bother me too much.
Yeah.
I think one of the aid stations I drank it too fast and came out my nose and had a big spew, but that had been on the cards for a while.
yeah, so it probably helped you rather than hindered
Yeah,
you.
got it out.
Yeah. So you're munching away, you're having your gels, you're drinking your liquids.
Yep.
And you're running, I mean, I'm going to ask this, and it's going to piss a bunch of trail runners off, but is it running or is it shuffling?
It was running to start with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was probably frustrating that I think the first few Ks were 5:30s, and that's kind of tarmac in the dark through the Tarawera Springs. That was really cool, and that was fine. The heart rate was a lot higher than it should have been for the hat, which was frustrating. And then you start hitting the hills and the pace drops and kind of getting a single line on one of the first descents. And then I was just trying to find a comfortable pace and just do my own thing.
Which must be like, because I guess you run a marathon or you run a half marathon and you do them a lot because you can. So you're really good at saying, okay, I've got 100% of my energy and I know how I'm going to break this into 2.5 or 3 hours or whatever it is. But to try and quantify what I feel now, and the high heart rate, you can put that down to a bit of anxiety. And,
I'd say nerves.
Nerves and stuff like that's fine. I'm the same. And then you've had a coffee or whatever, and you're kind of feeling a bit like,
Red Bull.
Yeah. So you're elevated anyway. But then you're thinking, okay, what is comfortable now? What is that going to be at hour 22 or however long you?
Yeah, so I'd kind of set a heart rate limit guide for something that I think I could hold for well over a dozen hours.
Yep.
And that's based on, I guess, kind of zones and then some experience on other ultras. I mean, within that, there will be different, like this is going to be a more challenging one because it was going to be flatter and a bit more consistent, whereas normally some of the steeper South Island ones, we go hike up because it's unrunnable, it's too steep, blast down, and then start again going hiking up. So at least you're using different muscle groups. Whereas this was going to be a lot more consistent effort, kind of heart rate, running, ticking over.
And how are you reminding yourself to eat and drink? Have you got a little alarm on your watch, or are you just sort of monitoring that? Because I can imagine as fatigue begins to set in, right? You're like, and hallucinating.
I think to start with, it's fine. I guess several long runs in there, several ultras already. Basically aiming for 500 mils an hour. If it's Morton, that's 78 grams of carbs, and then I'll have a gel every 45-ish, at least to start with. So I know I'm getting in good calories to start with, and that set me out well. I mean, even when I stopped eating and drinking later, I was still able to go for quite a way before I really bonked.
And so at what point, so you get through 20K, 30K, 40K, 50K? I mean, and to be honest, 50K, 60K, 70K is still an extraordinarily long way to travel. And I guess in the back of your mind, maybe you're not feeling 100 at the start line and you're thinking, okay, well, I'll go a little further, I'll get to the next aid station or whatever you're trying to break it down. It's a whole lot different to an aid station every 5K in a marathon. But at what point do you know or sort of get the feeling like, oh, shit?
I mean, in the first 10K.
Oh no!
I think I face planted after the first aid station, trying to put my refilled bottle in my pack and jump onto the back of a few guys.
Yeah.
Hit the deck, and that pretty much summed it up. But we kind of battled through. I got to the first crude point and I got through 30k, and I knew it wasn't going great, but we kept going. Got to I think between that 30k and the 56k, I was going to drop. And then I had to wait for a boat ride. There's a nice milers do a boat ride at Tarawera. And I had a bit of a break and a reset there waiting for the boats to come pick me up. So that was nice. I felt at least mentally a lot better after that. So I felt a reasonable 50k there until we got up to like 98, and then the wheels fell off a bit.
And you putting that down to sort of not being able to get some calories in at sort of from a 70 odd, 80 odd K, or is it just simply, hey, maybe I'm a little underdone in the training, this is further than I've gone before, or sodium, or is it just simply, sometimes it just doesn't go how you want it?
The negative thoughts have definitely been there all day. 98k, we got to a climb. It started in an exposed forestry section, and it was a long, really gradual, annoying kind of four-wheel drive road.
False flat.
Steeper than a false flat. Like, it was decent to start with, and it flattened off, but it was still, by that point, I wasn't running a bit later on. So I settled in to start with because I'd had a really good 50k stretch. I think I passed 20 odd people there for a while and was feeling really good. I'd done some maintenance with my feet at a drop bag at 89k. Topped up the bottles, had another good 10k stretch down for a really nice section of trail, and then you hit this road, four-wheel drive, forestry road up. And I wasn't running it. Definitely wasn't going to be running it at that time. So I settled into my hike, got my bar out. I was trying to get some solids in, and I knew there was an aid station 2k's away. So I was like, I'll get some food in before then, top up the bottles, see if we can go again. About 1k up the road, so before we got to the aid station, I lost everything. Sick again. and it felt pretty shit after that.
Yeah, okay. So you've lost your stomach twice.
Yeah.
Is it twice by then?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've lost your stomach twice by then. And like we all know, when you've been sick normally in normal life, you feel pretty average for a while, let alone asking your body to then, how many hours have you been out there?
No, 12 and a half, I think. Yeah.
So I think to put that in perspective with people who are listening that don't do anything, think what you do in 12 and a half hours in a normal fucking day, from, 8 till 8. Yeah. And the food and all the calories that go into your body, let alone asking it to move, for 100 kilometers up and down sort of terrain. So you get there, and then I guess you get K down the road, you get to the aid station, and I can sympathise or understand the mental ups and downs, but I guess for you in that sort of really long event, the periods of up and down are probably really long. So you have, you're really high for a while. You're thinking, oh yeah, this is okay, 6-7k, and then boom. Everyone's got planned until they get hit in the face, and Mike Tyson, that's about. And then I'd imagine that's quite repetitive. So you've been playing this little game of demon on an agent or your shoulder for 12 hours or longer, depending on how you're feeling the day before. So you get to that aid station, it was at 101k or 103k or something. And you've obviously been walking for a bit.
Yeah, walked a couple of k's up to there. It's It's not great. It's also, there's probably no way out from that aid station, so you have to keep going. And it was trying to regroup, try and get some. I think I had some chippies and fruit again.
Yep.
But legs felt pretty gassed.
Yeah.
After that,
what does gassed feel like when you've been going that long? Because it's obviously not lactate. Like it's not.
No.
It's just gone.
Just fatigue. Like there's there's nothing there to give.
Like buckling knees.
No, just the calves were pretty tight. There'd been like a little quad niggle for quite a bit, and it started to come back then. And just like feel like any increase in effort kind of upset the stomach too.
Yeah, okay. So anytime you start
try to latch on to someone or like pick it up,
every time you started jumping up and down, the hydrochloric acid is like, nah, mate, fuck you,
Yeah.
buddy. So you get to the aid station, you have some chippies and some fruit.
Yep.
You realise that hay helps 30k away.
Ooh. Yeah, it would have been another 20k.
Okay.
But most of that was going to be uphill.
Okay.
So
So you start the march.
Yep. Death March has started.
Your best friend is the Black Diamond poles.
That's I didn't take poles up.
Oh.
And I didn't really think that through, did I? It would have been good to have them for the last section. Yeah.
So you're munching away, you're trying to keep some food down. Are you still able to drink at that point?
Yeah, so
your
drinking,
ginger beer.
the ginger beer is going fine and helps the stomach. I occasionally still got a gel but wasn't really feeling like them. I knew I had to try and get something in if I was going to finish.
So it's a bit like just putting $20 petrol in your car.
Yeah.
you're sort of, empty car, a little $20, like you were when you were a teenager.
Empty.
Yeah, just get it above empty and then try and go again. And every time you get a little closer to absolute empty.
Yeah.
And so you get through to, was it 133k?
Yeah, so there was a big aid station at 119. So that was try and reset, then see some friends again who are crewing for me and some others, and then sat me down and we had a full clothing change. Like if I'm going to finish, I need to get some food in.
Yep.
So sat down for quite a bit, got some Nutella sandwiches in.
Oh, stop it.
Left with a couple of bottles of drink mix again or ginger beer, and felt really good for 5Ks.
Yep.
I powered up the climb past some other milers and 100Kers, and then there was like we're into like the most technical part of the course now, and it's just gone dark again. So that was cool. Got the headlamp out again, and it was just ticking off like at least another wee goal. So we'd done the 100K, and then you'd gone through all day back into night. So that was cool. Into the nice technical part of the course, get a slightly undulating downhill technical trail, and really started to motor for a few Ks.
Yep.
And then the stomach decided that it did not like running at all.
Oh, no.
And all those 100Kers who were walking or hiking past me again pretty quickly.
Gotcha.
And I had a slow march down to the 133K point where I dropped. Yeah.
And so what did you feel like that extra, there's no way you could have done that extra 27, or would it just been totally detrimental? I know you'll beat yourself and you always think, what if, like, we all do it.
Yeah, like going back, definitely there's a lot of wafters. Like even at the time I knew I could have walked it in and finished, and looking back I probably could have walked it in and still done an all right time, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed like it was going to be 4, 5, 6 hours of misery when I had been suffering and not enjoying it for quite a while already.
Yeah, and that's important, the enjoyment thing.
Yeah, so the enjoyment hadn't been there for quite a while. I'd probably ticked off all the intermediate goals, and then like the finish line and the Punama at the finish and the UTMB stones and all that wasn't motivating enough to keep me going.
Yeah, okay.
So bed was cooling.
Yeah, well, by that stage, what was it been like 20?
Just before 11, so 10:45 or something.
So you went 18, is it 18 hours? 19 hours?
Yeah, just under 19, I think.
So you've been out there 19 hours and you're thinking, I don't want to be out here for 27 hours.
Yeah.
The Nutella sandwich tasted not so great coming back up.
The sandwiches actually stayed down, so maybe in future we'll look to do some more sandwiches. But yeah, just pretty negative mentally.
Yes. And I guess
had enough.
and when you've dug that hole.
Yeah, and like come out of it a few times and gone back in. And I think in the lead up I was realistic about nothing had gone as I maybe planned 7 months ago. And I thought I'd set some realistic goals, and I'd had a couple of good training runs over Christmas, and then to start and within the first 10Ks feel worse than those training runs.
It's probably a long day.
Yeah, you know it's going to be a hard day.
And I think most athletes can sort of sympathise with, some days just don't go your way. But I think if you ran further than you've gone further than you've ever gone before. You went through from night to night time again, which is impressive because I can't stay awake for more than about 8 hours. And you've come out to be able to sort of tell the tale. If you go back in time and talk to you standing on the start line, what are some things that you'd say? Hey, maybe we should try these.
Yeah, probably take that kind of time earlier to reset, to have a proper reset, get that solid food in, give yourself a chance to finish, because 20 hours on ginger beer was not happening. It's a bit different to a 50k ultra where you maybe go the last few hours without food because you know you can finish, you've got the reserves there. I definitely ran out of reserves. I don't know, I was running on fumes there for quite a while.
There was no electric car charging port.
No.
So I mean, that's all sort of good learnings, good things to fall back on. Will you try again?
Like during it was a hard no.
Yep.
I think it won't be next year.
No.
I was thinking out there I could have been doing shot over, camping at the start, finish, having a swim after, and driving home and being in my own bed.
Yeah.
Still, like, there's something really nice about that.
So let's talk about gear.
Yep.
Because I think you're a wealth of knowledge for gear as well. So should we start from the shoes and the socks up?
Shoes, all right. We went with La Sportiva Prodigio Pro. Been running in them since December, so a lot of Ks over that Christmas period on a mix of terrain, and they're comfortable, so that was good for that length of time. They were grippy. They're far more grippy than you needed for Tarawera necessarily, or at least 99% of Tarawera. You didn't need that much grip. But yeah, they work. They energetic, give something back. Again, I probably wasn't putting enough into them to get the the full
watt
package.
ratio.
Yeah. But they work pretty happy with the shoes.
Mm-hmm. And socks?
Little Injinji toe socks, which has been my go-to for a few years now.
What weight? Original, light, medium?
Lightweight, I think.
Yep, lightweight. Just the wee
Lightweight
little
crew.
Yeah,
Yep.
nice shorts.
T8s. Yeah, so T8 ultra short and undies. It's a good combo. Whole lot of pockets on them, which I didn't end up using because I took my 12-litre vest. So.
Gotcha. And you normally use the Salomon?
Yeah, Solomon 12-litre advanced skin vest.
Of which we can't get any at the moment.
Yeah.
So we'll throw shade at Salomon.
It's frustrating.
It's a little frustrating. And T-shirts and stuff, what are you changing them when you can?
So I ran with the Aprecio Run Club one all day, and then I changed into another one just to try one going into the night. So about 7:30, 8 o'clock. Could have stayed in it all day. I think it was, that's a really nice top, especially in the hot weather.
Hats?
Just one of the Ciao caps, super lightweight one. It wasn't windy, so I didn't have any problems with like the
flap up and down.
flying around it like it does on the Port Hills sometimes. What else?
I think that about covers gear.
Yeah.
Next time you take some poles with you.
Hopefully I wouldn't need to, but maybe we'd have them in a drop bag. Yeah.
Or you could have them in the drop in the thing at 100 and something K, just in case stuff was going pretty badly. Well, not badly, but you're struggling to, like we said, in a race that long, the extremes are going to be unbelievable.
Yep.
The
difference between a good day and a bad day is several hours as opposed to
3 minutes.
Yeah.
I run a 2:20 marathon and I'm disappointed. I run a 2:17 marathon and I'm pretty thrilled. It's sort of I'm not worried about 700 extra calories, 700 extra grams of carbohydrates to get me through. So what's next?
Christchurch Marathon. I had big goals for that, but we'll just try and run it again, just as a hopefully a faster flat run, and then get back into the mountains. So I'm signed up for Eiger by UTMB in Switzerland in July.
Yep. So
that's some serious mountain stuff. 50k there. It's probably a much more comfortable distance for me, much more familiar. So mountain difficulty maybe in the lead up. That'll be good.
I did the mountain difficulty in year one as a team. I think we did, Ben Logan and I did a half marathon each, or 10k each to make up the half marathon. That thing is savage as fuck.
Yeah. It's pretty good if no one's done it. Steep, 50% Ks. There's a good 45, 50% K on the 21 and the 44K course. So if you're doing that, you're in for a good time.
I hadn't experienced unrunnable terrain because I was like
It's
21
totally unrunnable. It's hands, gloves.
And also my idea of a race was you just did everything really hard. Oh man, it's like, I don't know you could get lactic in your arms, but you can when you're scrambling. When you're trying to, you don't want to look back either.
Well, you can see like the people half an hour behind you.
Yeah.
They're only like 10 minutes or
Yeah.
100 meters
100
or
meters
something.
behind.
Everyone looks so close, but really you're like spread out over half an hour or something.
And that's, what's his name? Terry, does he still?
Yeah, Terry Davis.
Terry. So they do a great job with a bunch of with their events. I ran my half marathon PB at the Southern Lakes one, but they do a great. So you are off to Europe. You're going to do some stuff over there, play in the mountains.
Yep.
I feel like, and I can say this because I'm a friend, you need to find some love back in it.
Yeah.
Some love in your eyes for
Just
it.
a challenging year.
Yeah. Have something fun. Coach on the horizon?
Yeah, I'm normally with Coach Sia Svensson. With everything that was going on last year, I didn't feel like I could commit to a plan, or I wasn't where I wanted to be for a plan. And in hindsight, maybe I should have just been on a plan to help guide me through that. It would have still been helpful or beneficial. Also, I like the flexibility to go and do stupid things and do way too much.
There's a pattern here,
Yeah.
Sam, which I find so interesting because you're such an even keel human being everywhere
Sensible
else.
normally.
Yeah, you're Mr. Steady. If you could drive around in third gear, you would the whole time. Like, it just comes with these silly things. So someone puts 2,500 meters of vert in front of you. You're like, fuck it. Let's go for it.
Do that every day.
Let's go and do it. You're a bad man. Oh, well, I think people love the breakdown, mate. I know people are asking for it. And we'll catch up with you sometime soon.
Cool. Thank you.